All right, welcome to class. This is POLS 3053 International Relations. This is a summer course, so we're going to be covering a lot of material in a fairly short period of time. Let me extend my welcome to each of you. I wanted to take a moment to explain some of the changes that I've made to how I approach teaching going into this semester. I'm going to do more group work than I've done in the past. That's going to involve putting you guys into groups, having you guys interact with one another and work on some projects. You're going to be submitting weekly study guides kind of collectively, so it's not all going to be everybody, for themselves. I'm going to briefly read off each group, and this is posted in the course resources section for week one as well. Group one, which is also Group Blue, is Drake Brillart, Amanda Haley, Giselle Martinez, Isaiah Ross, and Sarah Spencer. Group 2, or Group Green, is Kendra Clark, Brendan Hall, Joseph Phelan, and Miranda Sanders. And Group 3, Group Red, is Amanda Coates, Cassandra Hassett, Vincent Reggio, Jason Skinner, and Forrest Young. So what I'm hoping you guys will do fairly early on this week is, first of all, get in touch with one another and identify if one of you is willing to work as sort of the group leader. We're going to need somebody that can kind of, schedule meetings, identify times when we can do Zoom conferences, assign aspects of the weekly assignments, the study guides to group members, get that work back, get it collated, get it edited, and get it submitted in a timely fashion. So I would also encourage the group leaders to interact with other leaders once we figure out who those folks are. Now groups can do it a different way. You can just nominate a different person each week. You can rotate it. I don't always think that's the most effective way to do that because not everyone is a natural leader, but that is up to you guys. You might have a bunch of leaders among you and everybody can do it equally well. And so, I'm open to whatever it is that you're choosing to do. So I'm hoping to start getting emails from people and letting me know that you're interacting with one another. I also want to make sure that you're using your RSU student accounts. Again, when you figure out who's in your group, you should be able to go to the roster and get their student email account. If you're not using your student email, you need to please do that. I would encourage you to exchange cell phone information and things like that so that you have a redundant way of interacting with one another. I want to briefly talk about how the forums are supposed to work. Each Tuesday, by 11:55 of each Tuesday, I expect you to have at least read the material, looked at the PowerPoints, looked at the study guides, and gotten an idea of the scale of what we're working on a week-to-week basis. This week's assignment is just the introductory chapter, so it's not that that onerous at the start. So and then I want you to be able to make an initial post that basically shows me that you're reading the material. Now you can do that in a number of ways. You can try to do a summary of that. Most weeks we're going to be doing multiple chapters. That can be kind of labor intensive. You can also, give me some questions that demonstrate to me that you're critically engaging with the material. What is the most important thing to learn about this week's reading? What's the most difficult to understand? What don't you understand? Those kinds of questions are perfectly relevant for that initial, what I call summary post. Then you need to interact with one another and with me over the remainder of the week. And I don't want you to just do it all on one day, right? I want you to monitor the forum over the course of the week. And if somebody writes something that engages, with you or makes you want to interact with them, then, then you write a post. I don't expect you to spend more than, 15, 20 minutes a day, but you should at least be reading these forums as they're going out. This week's reading, now again, as far as, the group work, that doesn't necessarily deal with the forum itself, but I do want to have a Zoom meeting with each group over the course of a week, and hopefully we'll be able to do that fairly early in the week. I'm going to try to reach out to people later on this afternoon. This is a morning post, so I'm going to try to reach out with, towards people and get an idea of whether groups are being formed and whether I can get leaders, into those positions so that I can announce those names and we can start kind of, getting organized. Um, the Zoom meetings again are, in no small part to just have a little bit of a classroom FaceTime moment where we can talk about, issues rather than having to, relate things through email or through the forum themselves. Um, that way we can engage in the material, get an idea of what we're trying to learn this, in each, week and, what the challenges are that we might be facing as a group. Obviously, this course is coming at a momentous time in American and world history. We're in the midst of a significant pandemic. We are in the, going through significant economic distress as a result of the pandemic and the shutdowns of state economies. And then, of course, now we're also dealing about 2 weeks in with massive protests as a result of a police brutality incident that took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I think all of these things touch in an important way on international relations and how we as a government deal with one another, but also how we're perceived in the world. And I think that's really important. And I hope you guys will take up the challenge and engage with this material in a serious way. Um, this week's reading is just chapter 1 of the text, which again, it's if you look at it, it's sort of a highlight of what you need to know in order to dig in further. So we're looking at what the challenge is of understanding international relations. Why is it that Albert Einstein said that politics is harder than physics? In no small part, it's because people are unpredictable, and physics is not. Okay, so again, we need to understand key terminology. We need to understand what it means to say that the international environment is anarchic in nature. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily chaotic. It means that no one entity has the power to compel other people to do things. We need to understand the challenges that we confront in looking at understanding international relations, because people from very different cultures are in positions of power and authority, and their upbringing, their culture, their language, their history, influences the way they perceive the world and how they feel like their country should act within the world. And so to some extent, we all operate within the lens of ethnocentrism, which is to say that we look at the world through our own cultural lenses. I hope that you'll spend some time this week kind of introducing yourself. I'm going to take that opportunity. My name is Ken Hicks. I've been here since 1999. I've been the department head here for about 12 years now of history and political science. I'm an Army brat. Both my parents were Army officers. I was raised on Army bases in the Deep South. My mom is from Massachusetts. My dad is from Texas. So I'm culturally very polyglot. We spent time in military installations in Georgia, in Germany, in Virginia. We spent, I think, 2 years in Texas while my dad was serving in Vietnam. Both my parents are medical. They're both nurse anesthetists. My dad has passed away, but both of them were medical people and specialized nursing that dealt with the things you do to put people to sleep before an operation and then monitor their vitals to ensure you don't kill them. So that obviously has had an impact on me. My upbringing on military installations gave me a particular respect for the military. But also, the fact that I was raised on military bases in the midst of the Vietnam conflict, gives me a critical sense of, what is the point of warfare if we're not doing it for the right reasons. And so that's me. Again, I'm a political scientist by training and inclination. I like to look at things objectively and to analyze things and figure out why they work or don't work and what can be done to help them work better. So I hope you enjoy the class, and I look forward to interacting with all of you.